I call to order the meeting of the Verona Common Council for Monday, May 11th, 2026 at 7 p.m. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll have the roll.
Helmke,
Present.
Weiss, Weiss,
Alder Weiss, can you hear us? I guess temporarily
Should I-
mark
we
him
should
absent,
continue?
and then we'll continue.
Lytle, Tucker Long,
Here.
Hernandez,
Here.
Swanson,
Present.
Hoaxed,
Present.
and Harrison.
Present.
Okay, we have quorum, so we can proceed. With that, we'll move on to item 6, which is public comment. If any members of the public wish to speak, now would be the time to do so.
Good evening. Good to see all of you again. It's been a few months, but I'm back. As you know, my name is Scott Side. I live with my wife at 308 Monte Cristo Circle in Verona, and I'm speaking to you tonight in opposition to the proposed development of the Bacchus property. Just 2 years ago, in Dane County Roadmap to Solving Dane County's Housing Crisis, the report described a healthy multifamily vacancy rate in the county as about 5%. That was the goal, and that's what the county asked municipalities to achieve. Just 4 months ago, I reported to you that the vacancy rate in Dane County had reached an unprecedented 7.6%, and it looked like it would continue to rise. Sure enough, as I reported to you 3 months ago, the vacancy rate in Dane County jumped to another new high of 8.3%. Well, that was nothing. Today, the vacancy rate for Dane County has reached an unprecedented 9.2%, nearly twice the rate that Dane County described as a healthy vacancy rate, and far beyond any goal or expectation the county could have expected. And the vacancy rate does not appear to be slowing down. Municipalities all over Dane County are approving the construction of apartment complexes like there's no tomorrow, including the city of Madison, which now has a vacancy rate of 11.9%. And there are so many more apartment complexes now in the works that those vacancy numbers are sure to continue rising. As you know, in Verona alone, there are over 1,000 units either in the works, already approved, or under construction. So just 2 short years into the crisis mode, the multifamily component of the crisis is not only over, it's in overkill mode. The real crisis, as you should know, is the continuing crisis of a lack of single-family homes or townhomes that people can actually afford to buy. To that end, there is no reason for the city to approve building multifamily projects on property clearly not suited for it, like the Bacchus property, which is better suited for single-family homes and duplexes. So please continue working on greasing the skids for developers to build homes that people can afford to buy. We want families to own Verona, not corporations. I'll be back in a couple of weeks to provide you with an update on the resubmission of the application to develop the Bacchus property, and it's no better than it was before. And I hope you'll consider our views, because this is extremely important to us, as you can imagine. Thank you.
Thank you. We are still in public comment. If anyone else wishes to speak, now would be the time to do so.
My name is Bob Cravens. I live on Monte Cristo. I'm Scott's neighbor. I agree with everything Scott just said. But in an effort to try to work with maybe the developer and see. I mean, this is not ideal. I mean, I don't think that single or multifamily homes belong back there for the same reasons that Scott does. But I did put together an email. I sent you all the email last night, and I just provided everybody a hard copy today. And what I did is I took that site plan, and I understand that there's not a lot of latitude for a step down, a proper step down, or whatever you want to call it. But there are some lower density structures in this plan that are positioned on the north side. And I think if you not remove them, but rearrange them, that's probably a better term, so that those lower density structures are on the southern side, that does, I think, solve some of the transitional period. So you can see in the original site plan, on the second page, I have just put building blocks on there. So you can see I have the same buildings. And building number 4 is really kind of their pool and, what do they call it? Their common area, which is kind of a lower density structure. And my proposal is that the developer rearrange their plan a little bit, move that building 4 along the southern wall there, so that we have a little bit lower density structures on that side. So you can see that the pool and the common structure is there. It has the same number of units. So this particular rearrangement has the same number of units, and it's just a rearrangement of what's there. But from my perspective as a property owner on the southern side, my view now isn't looking out to 15 different families who could possibly all be looking back into the backside of my home, when I was expecting maybe 2 or 3 if it's multifamily or single-family units. But this is maybe a win-win. I'm not an architect. I am an engineer. I love to solve hard problems. This is my effort to kind of work with everybody. But again, my position is I don't think that multifamily belongs here. But if it does belong here, I think we need to have some creative solution and look at alternatives and not just accept the default plan that the developer has put in front of you, but maybe look at rearranging or maybe downsizing, some of the structures. I didn't downsize at all here. I think it all still fits. Obviously there's some roads or I guess some entrances that have to be moved a little bit, but I think that that's an architectural problem that it can be solved. I think that's it, but if anybody has any questions on this, again, I emailed everybody, so if you have questions, feel free to email me back or contact me through, I think I put my phone number on the bottom of that. Thank you.
Thank you. We are still in public comment, so if anyone else wishes to speak.
Hello. So I want to spend my time making some observations about the process since December, because quite a few things have happened since December that we've just been dealing with recently. So Fiduciary, led by Tony DeRosa, met in our garage December 4th of last year to discuss possible solutions to the plan at the time that they were proposing. And Alders Tucker Long and Alder Helmke were there also. I'll just use plain language. I mean, Tony was really friendly. He was super upbeat. He brought a team of people with him. They gave us a lot of hope. They made us believe that they were willing to try to work with us and seriously give consideration to some of the things that we were suggesting. And at the end of the meeting, originally the plan was for 257 units, I believe. He presented some possible plans for 220 units. I just want to make clear that none of the neighbors ever suggested a certain number that we would be happy with or wouldn't be happy with. He came with that. He was totally open to talking about totally rearranging buildings, removing floors, replacing with townhomes, all that kind of stuff. which was all contrary to everything we've heard at any meeting about it not being financially viable to do stuff like that the land was too difficult to work with, that roads were in place. So to be honest, I mean, while I was hopeful, I was also very suspicious about why is this developer presenting such a friendly front. I don't think, my personal belief was they were not being the least bit sincere. And other people will disagree with you in their opinion, but that's my personal opinion. Anyways, Tony told us they would get back to us, they would look into these options, get back to us in January. None of us neighbors ever heard from him again. No phone calls to clarify things, no phone calls to just update us on how the process was going. We have not heard from him. Radio silence. Skip forward to March 4th. Lucas Sievertson emailed the neighbors to notify us that Fiduciary had withdrawn their application for the Bacchus property. Lucas shared the letter with us, and I will now share a few quotes with you, directly written by Tony from that letter. It has become increasingly clear through our engagement efforts and the extended public process that there is not a feasible path forward towards neighborhood support for multifamily housing on this property, even at a meaningfully reduced scale. He goes on to say that we are formally withdrawing our application for the Bacchus property at this time. We believe this is the most responsible step given the current economics and the feedback received through public process. That could not have been more clear, if they meant it. Neighbors all breathed a little sigh of relief. Fast forward to March 20th, which was 2 weeks later, Lucas emailed Tony with the application requirements, and I quote him in his email, if you wish to resubmit an application for the property referred to as the Bacchus property. So here we have Fiduciary saying, can't make this work in a way that the neighbors will be happy. And in my opinion, Lucas's email was a direct solicitation to reapply. We want to figure out a way to work with you. Let's make this happen. Those are my words, not his. I'm not quoting him. So I have to wonder, what changed? What changed all of a sudden? Because then, and that was on a Thursday, so we had a weekend, we had a couple days of the weekend. The next Tuesday, Sam Elliott of Fiduciary emailed Lucas to clarify some of what Lucas was asking for. Obviously, it's been, at the time, it was on people's minds that they were going to continue to develop this property. Let me just fast forward to some of my other. Oh, okay. We got to look at the new application. I put that in quotes because, as far as we can tell, nothing absolutely changed. Well, actually, no. The thing that did change is they omitted any mention of their conversations with the neighbors. It's almost like they were trying to make an inconvenient historical fact disappear. Gee, I wonder who is doing that right now in our country. We are being steamrolled, and I'm not pointing the finger at any one person, but this is very unreasonable. Long story short, I asked Lucas to consider giving us a couple more days to review the plan before it's presented at the Plan Commission meeting, because 1 to 2 days is not enough for neighbors to consider it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are still in public comment. If anyone else wishes to speak, now would be the time to do so.
Hi, good evening. I'm Jessica Lanius. I'm one of the co-artistic directors of Theater Leela, yes, and also Art House 360. I wear many hats. I'm excited to be here today because I know you'll be discussing a donated sculpture, and I wanted to share with you and the public how honored we were as founders of Art House 360 that this donor came forward with this sculpture. She looked around Dane County, all of Dane County. We did not know her before this. She had attended some fundraisers, but had not had personal contact with us. But she looked around Dane County, and she picked us. She's commissioned a famous artist, Jean Delcourt, a local artist, to do this incredible sculpture around Tai Chi Animal Frolics, which is an arts program that she started 40 years ago in Dane County and has taken to many of the schools in Madison. And one of the 3 reasons that she came to us, which also we felt very honored because it's part of our mission, was that we were truly a multicultural space, and that excited her. and that we were a multidisciplinary space. So we have music and art and dance and theater, and she was very excited by that. And then the third opportunity, which is exciting to me, being a movement teacher, is that not only is this sculpture a beautiful piece of art for our community and the public, and that they would be able to see it as they drive by, but that it can be activated. Because she is a Tai Chi artist, she can create these wonderful, in the space that it will take up, there's lawn, there's the beautiful oak tree, and I'm excited to see how she could activate this space and bring greater wellness to our kids, to our seniors, to all of us. I also think that educators could walk down to the piece and learn from that, and also create their own curriculum around the Tai Chi animal frolics. So we are honored and excited and grateful that you're going to be discussing this today, and look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. We are still in public comment, so if anyone else wishes to speak, now would be the time to do so. Seeing no one else approaching the microphone, we will move on to item 5, which is approval of minutes from the April 21st, 2026 and April 27th, 2026 Common Council meetings. Questions, comments, corrections, or motions to approve? Alder Helmke.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Alder Helmke. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Harrison. Last chance for corrections. Seeing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes from the April 21st, 2026 and April 27th, 2026 Common Council meetings, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. And the minutes are approved. We will move on to item 6, which is mayor's business. First up, we have excuse me. We have 6A, which is the Public Works Appreciation Week proclamation, which I will read to you right now. Oops. I'm going to lose my place first. Sorry. Okay. Whereas City of Verona public works professionals are dedicated to providing, maintaining, and protecting vital infrastructure, facilities, and services that contribute to public health, quality of life, and the success and resilient communities, and whereas public works professionals are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting roads and transportation systems, water supplies, water treatment, waste systems, public buildings, and so much more. And whereas Verona's public works professionals are often the first on scene and the last to leave the scenes of a disaster, no matter the peril, as they work to ensure operations return to normal as quickly as possible. Whereas Verona residents should increase their awareness and understanding of the important work of public works professionals and programs in our community. Now, therefore, I, Luke Diaz, Mayor of the City of Verona, do hereby proclaim May 17th through the 23rd, 2026 as Public Works Week in the City of Verona, and encourage citizens to join in celebrating our public works professionals for their dedicated service to the health, safety, and overall well-being of all residents. And I do have the proclamation, and I see at least a couple members of the Public Works Division in the audience, so we can all get up here and get a picture. I've gotten feedback.
Yes. Our communications manager is educating us. One, two, three. Perfect. Good to go?
Okay, we will move on to 6B, which is the National Police Week proclamation, which I will read to you right now. Whereas law enforcement officers in the City of Verona dedicate their lives to upholding the principles of justice, protecting our citizens, and ensuring the safety of our community, and whereas these individuals demonstrate unwavering courage, professionalism, and selflessness in the face of danger, often risking their own lives to safeguard the lives of others, and whereas the City of Verona recognizes the sacrifices made by our law enforcement officers and their families, acknowledges the challenges they face in the pursuit of maintaining peace and order, And whereas Police Week provides an opportunity to express gratitude for the dedication and service of our law enforcement personnel, honoring their commitment to duty and the preservation of public safety. And whereas during the week we pay tribute to those officers who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty, remembering their valor and honoring their memory. Now, therefore, I, Luke Diaz, Mayor of the City of Verona, do hereby proclaim May 10th through the 16th, 2026, as Police Week in the City of Verona, and encourage citizens to join in expressing appreciation for the invaluable contributions of our law enforcement officers, recognizing their vital role in preserving the peace and security of our community. And I will sign this and present this to Chief Dresser.
You can tell they've never been in a lineup. Here we go. All right, 1, 2. There you go. Good to go.
We'll move on to 6C, which is the EMS Week proclamation, which I'll read to you now. Whereas emergency medical services are critically important part of emergency care for residents of the City of Verona and all communities, and whereas access to quality emergency medical care dramatically improves the survival, recovery, and satisfaction of those who experience sudden illness or injury, which is why Fitch Verona EMS continually strives to improve the quality of EMS and trauma care system to ensure that all patients experience the highest level of care. And whereas Fitch Verona EMS exemplifies the very best Verona has to offer, often putting their own health and safety on the line to serve others, and standing at the ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas EMS personnel undergo hours of specialized training and ongoing education to enhance their life-saving skills. Now, therefore, I, Luke Diaz, Mayor of the City of Verona, do hereby proclaim May 17th through the 23rd, 2026 as EMS Week. The City of Verona encourages citizens to join in celebrating Fitch Verona EMS for their knowledge, skills, and selfless dedication to the community. And I will sign this one and present this to Chief Anderson in a sec.
Join the club. And just one more. Good to go.
Okay, I will move on to 6D, which is the Plan Commission appointment. I'm reappointing Plan Commissioner Mike Hankard, who is currently on the Plan Commission. He agreed to do it for another term. And it's my understanding that by ordinance, these are not subject to council approval. So we will move on to 6E, which is regarding the next council meeting. It is Tuesday, May 26th. It is not on the Monday, so update your calendars. But it is Tuesday, May 26th. And with that, we'll move on to 6F, which is an update on the Fitch Verona EMS provided by Chief Patrick Anderson. Chief Anderson.
Do I need to sit over there? Are we good?
I think we're good.
Good? All right. We didn't do a dry run before I started here, so.
As long as you got the cable to plug the laptop in.
Oh, wait, is Mara doing the nod?
It is currently a black screen for us.
Want to move over a table?
All right, we'll switch it up. No, maybe one more over.
This is why we practice, right?
Hey, there we go.
All right, perfect. Thank you, elders, for allowing me to come. For anyone who is new, we started this a couple years ago, about 2 times a year, coming to do a quick check-in. The district, right, it's we're on kind of our special little monster is what I call us out there, right? We're involved with a couple municipalities, so we're kind of out there in the periphery, and I just want to make sure, as we started a few years ago, to make sure that we're drilling that message down to you, our stakeholders, who kind of manage what we do. So just a really quick presentation on, I always like to call it the state of the state of EMS and how we're doing. So this is kind of a summary of where we were at for last year. Know you got a busy schedule, so we'll move right along. Really just the overview of FitDrona. For anyone who's new or anyone out there in TV land who doesn't know what we do, we are an EMS district, right? We serve the city of Fitchburg, city of Verona, and Verona Township. Next year will actually be 50 years. So whatever that big celebration is next year, but it'll be FitDrona will be 50 years next year, which is actually largely most of the standalone EMS agencies in Dane County. Don't need to know the whole history of where we came from. If you want to sometime, I will absolutely share it with you. But most EMS agencies in Dane County, either this year or next year, is their 50-year anniversary. And what is our purpose, right? To provide emergency care for residents and visitors. Really based on geography, between those 3 municipalities, we cover about 71 square miles. And then based on Department of Administration reports from, again, the state of Wisconsin, about 55,172 residents. As you can imagine, that number gets pretty significantly higher during daytime hours when we have all the commuters that come in and out of our district. The kind of the staggering number there is that that 55,000 residents is actually 13% growth. And that includes all 3 municipalities, but Verona being a very large increase in there. In just 1 year, that number went up pretty significantly. So that's our geography. That's what we serve. What do we have to bring to the table for you? So what we do, we provide 3 paramedic ambulances 24/7. So every day of the week, every hour of the day, we have 3 paramedic ambulances available for you. As I'll talk about in a little bit, as we expanded coverage starting this year, we actually do have a 4th ambulance. Operates 2 days a week during daytime hours. We call it peak time hours from 7A to 7P. Our peak time hours are really more like 8 to 9, right? It doesn't fit in a beautiful 12-hour model, but for ease of planning and scheduling, we call it a 12-hour day. We do own 6 ambulances. For that, right, those 3 of them that are the frontline ambulances running every day, that 4th one that we rotate into service, and then the other 2, they kind of move their way down the older they get. They support a lot of our special events or rotate through when something needs tires and oil changes. There was at least one point already this year where we did have all 6 on the road when we were actually covering some special events, coming in for kind of helping our neighbors' response. So there are times when all 6 of those, actually, if I have enough people, we can put all 6 of those on the streets. One of those here is at the Verona Fire Station. The other 2 are in 2 of the Fitchburg fire stations, number 2 and number 3, which is on Marketplace and South Sain Road. Those are ambulances or other specialized vehicles we have. We have 2 SUVs. Yes, I did throw some Chat GPT in here, right? So that fast, flexible deployment, right? That's not me, but they are there for us to use. Primarily, I always called it the FedEx part of my day, right? It's running from Fitchburg to South Sain Road and back, dropping off oxygen, picking up supplies, doing some training. But we do also use them as first response vehicles. Primarily, my office is down here in Verona. We have another chief at the far end, and one who kind of floats between. Should that Verona ambulance be out, I can hop in that car. My other deputy chief can hop in that car and do that first response. Or if they're up in Fitchburg, they do the same thing. So we do use them as response vehicles. We also have a responder rehab trailer we call it for large incidents. It was actually a repurposed trailer we got from the county before. Largely, it goes to structure fires or special events, contains water, chairs, tents, misting fans, nutrition. Before we had that spread throughout the district, we got this trailer from the county. We actually moved it down here to Verona. We put all those supplies in one place, and it's easily deployable now. Other things we have to support events, a bike medic program that Epic helped us purchase back in 2014. Last year, we upgraded our bike with the help of Epic, and we now have 2 e-bikes. We like to call them our spicy e-bikes. We actually did have them out at the user group meeting, or the expert XGM this last week, and a phenomenal tool for us to move in large crowded areas that we're not able to get ambulances to, and able to respond to events. They're not solely used for Epic. We use them for other events as well. We purchased an electric UTV a couple of years ago as well. Very similarly, gets us to those places that we can't get our ambulances to. We don't leave it on a trailer, so we have actually hopped on the Military Ridge Bike Trail and headed to Fitchburg and have been those first responders there, because we're able to negotiate places we can't get trucks. And then the last thing I put on there is event support, is we have a large inflatable shelter, another thing we got last year. Pretty impressive. Again, if you ever want to come over and play with it, we can have that thing inflated in 3 minutes. That's about a 12 by 15 trailer, lives in that rehab trailer. The story is there's at least 2 times that Patrick got to take the rehab trailer out in the pouring rain at structure fires last year. So when I was getting wet, we needed something else so that the chief didn't get wet. And those were actually donated funds as well. So all three of those things, the bikes, the UTV, and shelters, came from either state funds or grants. So we have a pretty large arsenal to support the mission that we do. What does it look like we do every day? So 2025 had 5,434 calls. It was a 5.5 increase over 2024. Historically, if we go back 49 years, we average about a 4% increase over those 49 years. So last year was a pretty significant increase with that 5.5%. This year we're tracking back down to a little bit, I will call it normalcy. I couldn't tell you what happened last year, but we're back down to kind of if we would move with that 3% every year. We've leveled off just a little bit. As far as what that distribution looks like in our municipalities, as you can imagine, right, most of it is by population. So Fitchburg is about 65% of our calls. City of Verona is about 28%, and the town of Verona is about 3%. With that, you'll notice, right, that doesn't add up to 100%, which means calls outside of our district make up about 4%. And that segues down to that next bullet point on there, is that Verona assists nearby communities with intercepts and automatic aid. ALS is, don't want to again teach you all about EMS here, you have other things to learn tonight, but ALS is advanced life support. That's the paramedic life support. There are different levels of paramedic providers. ALS or paramedics is that top level. There's other ambulance services out there that are BLS or EMT basic or advanced EMT, somewhere in that middle. So we are largely the ALS support for essentially southwestern Dane County, which includes right down into our neighbors of Rock Green and Lafayette. We also work in what's called a borderless ALS system with our Madison Middleton, which also run a 2-paramedic system, which means regardless of where you live, regardless of where you pay your taxes, which is the majority of how ambulances are dispatched, based on what you tell the 911 center or what your need is, you will get the closest ambulance. That was decades upon decades of work and collaboration to make sure that citizens, right, that we were putting patient care above politics. So we work with our neighbors as far as that borderless ALS system. This is our heat map. So this is our whole district. This is all of 2025. I could probably show you the same map for the last 5 years every year. It doesn't really change. Right, as you can see where the denser red calls are, or the denser red is where we get our higher volume of calls. If you look in that upper right-hand corner, right, that is the Fish Hatchery Road corridor. High density housing, the other big red map spot up there in Fitchburg, is largely the aging population housing in Fitchburg. If we move into Verona, I'll get you your close-up of what Verona is, since we're talking with you this evening. Right, you'll notice where those 2 big red spots are. One of those in the town of Verona. I don't want to give you the locations of places in here, but you can figure out where that location is, right, based off of 151 and East Verona Road. The big one in the city there, that is essentially Verona's large population of aging housing. That's where our calls come from. So a couple of the things that happen with our operational system, again, just kind of the fun facts of stuff. The leading calls dispatching we are called to is falls, sick people, and breathing. 20% of our calls every year, and this is actually, we can trace this back many, many years, are false. If anybody out here has the solution of how we fix that, the entire state of Wisconsin would love to hear from you because this is a consistent theme throughout our whole state. But that is our calls as well. Sick person and falls just flips back and forth between our number 1 and number 2 calls for service. As far as our response times, right, how fast does it take us to get out the door? Our median response time is 6.33 minutes to anywhere in our district. And that response time is from the time we get that page till the time we get on scene. In Verona here, it's about 5.16 minutes, largely because the geography, right? When that ambulance is here in Verona, we can get it out the door pretty quick. Our 90th percentile is 10.85 minutes. The National Fire Protection Agency, which largely addresses fire response, but there's some EMS component in there as well. Their goal for the national standard is less than 9 minutes. So we're slightly over that. We were under it for many years when we opened up that 3rd station, largely because of that northeast corner of Fitchburg that was gained from the town of Madison. My assumption is the reason that has slowly creeped up is just because our call volume has creeped up as well, which means now we're sending farther away ambulances to places. And I'll talk about safe transport as well, which may affect that. In Verona, it's 9.29 minutes. We're meeting that standard here in the city. Our median scene time is 13 minutes and 44 seconds. There is no national standard for the amount of time spent on scene. A good guideline is 15 minutes or less. As you can see, it's not listed on here, but our average transport times are about 15 minutes, right? So we have to weigh providing patient care, stabilizing a patient at the same time. We're only 15 minutes from a hospital. So, right, you're not paying for a station wagon to pick you up and drive you in. You're paying for some care. So we do monitor that time of how long our crews do sit on scene. Biggest reason we pull the median and the response times as well, as you can imagine, we have those outliers out there that it's possible that you're going to sit somewhere for 6 hours, right? So we got to throw those out there. Putting all of those together, our median response time is about 48 minutes, right? So from the time an ambulance gets paged till the time it transports and back in service, and that's not back in the station, that's actually just back in service, is about 48 minutes. The third bullet point that I put over there is safe transport practices, as I like to bring up here, right? Non-emergent response and transport is safer for patients and the public. There is study after study after study that says truly lights and sirens make a very, very small difference in actually patient outcomes. But it actually makes a huge difference in the risk of our own safety, of our patients, of our drivers, and other drivers on the road. So all of the numbers you see there, and again, I could sit here and talk about EMS all night, but the way we get actually dispatched from the 911 center, we get assigned an acuity code. An alpha code is a non-emergent response. If you stub your toe and call an ambulance, we're gonna come. We're not gonna come with our lights and sirens screaming. And that, when we look at those response times, we don't factor that out. So that response time includes all of that responding from the one side of the county, right? And if you stub your toe here and the only ambulance is on South Sahin Road, you're going to wait for that ambulance from South Sahin Road to come here non-emergently. I am guaranteeing you're not going to die from your stub toe, right? It'll be fine and they'll get here safely as possible. So I always like to put that out there when we start looking at times that this is not screaming lights and sirens to every single call, right? It's actually a very small amount of calls that we do respond to. Lights and sirens or transport. Some of the last couple things here is, what are we made up of? So myself as the chief, I have 2 deputy chiefs. One of those was just hired last year. I have 3 paramedic lieutenants and 18 full-time paramedics. It takes 7 paramedics based on the schedule we work, 7 paramedics per station to work a 24/48 shift. So 21 paramedics full-time, 3 of those being lieutenants. I have 1 part-time office manager who, like most places know, we can't live without. And then we have about 15 to 20 part-time paramedics who cover vacations and sick time. As far as our education, Mayor Luke brought up, right, our job is all about continuing education. We actually are state mandated for continuing education every 3 years. Our medical direction is done through the UW hospital system. We actually get monthly education through the UW hospital system, and that's actually in person and streamed. Our own medical director, Dr. Mike Mancera, comes from UW once a month and does run review with us. We're also very fortunate. The UW system has an EMS fellow. So this is a person who has actually just graduated from their emergency room fellowship. They spend one more year actually working closely with pre-hospital providers in an EMS fellowship world. And because Dr. Mancera actually helps lead that program at UW, we benefit from that. So we get a second physician here who's actually doing run review with us once a month. As well as I mentioned, the second deputy chief we hired at the beginning of last year, his sole purpose is actually to, I give him a little bit more work than this, right? But his primary job is actually to do hands-on training with us, right? We have lots of tools out there making sure that we're proficient. And as far as our internship, something we're very proud of, we actually have partnered with for years and years with both Fitchburg and Verona fire departments. They both have fire internship programs. They spend 2 years at the fire department, spend their first 2 years getting their fire associate degree. For those of you who are interested and kind of meet that criteria, there's an optional third year for them to go to get their paramedic license. That's part of, we sponsor those students. We don't pay them, but we help supplement their tuition. About 4 to 5 years ago, very large demand in providers out there who don't want to be firefighters, but are still interested in that paramedic program. I think I've mentioned before, right, of the 21 full-time paramedics we have, there's only about 5 of them, or I should say 5 of us, right? One of them is myself, who actually has fire training as well. So a very large percentage of my medics, who are phenomenal medics, right, are not interested in the fire side of things. So we actually brought this in, and this is a thanks to you and the district members. So those are actually, it's a paid internship. They're actually paid 96 hours a month. They're partnered with a mentor, and they are with us for 2 years. And at the end of those 2 years, they get their paramedic associate degree. So we have actually, and of those, our very first one that we ever had, we hired about a month after she got done. Her mentor moved out west, and we hired her on the spot. So it's been largely successful of essentially creating our own paramedics. As far as community outreach, again, love to throw out there the numbers. Last year, we taught 26 CPR and Stop the Bleed. Many of those are to businesses who reach out to us to come to their businesses. Some of those we do at the libraries in both municipalities. We go to churches and do them when we're requested. We provided EMS support to 51 special events in our district, right? So above and beyond just going to 911 calls and sitting in our stations, 51 times. We have a partnership with the city of Madison with the Alliant Energy Center. So between the two of our entities, there's some times out there where there's some events that are large entities that we can't do by ourselves. So we partner with them and work collaboratively with them to support Alliant Energy Center. As well as events in our own district, as well as the city of Madison, as they're just becoming more overwhelmed with their events, are tending to reach out to us. We have sent them to UW Badger games. We were just there for UW commencement. So again, huge partnerships with our neighboring services. Last one, another great number out there that enhancing our public safety of a direct, I will say a direct reflection of those 26 CPR classes that we taught. We belong to a countywide and actually a statewide system called it's a CARES report is what it is. But we just got our numbers for 2025, and 71% of patients who had cardiac arrests in our district actually received bystander CPR. The national number out there is 41%. So love to think that we are doing something right in our communities of actually getting people to get out there and start just pushing on a chest. So that'll be my shameless plug. If any businesses and people are out there that are looking in CPR classes, please let us know. We'll get out there. One of the things that can save lives. As far as our funding sources go, so this is how we plan our annual budget, right? So EMS revenue covers for about 48%. We do charge for our services, right? We're unique as a municipal entity that we actually can bill for insurance. So roughly, I want to say roughly, 48% of of the operating budget is covered by our billing. The remainder of that 52% then is broken down based on that intergovernmental agreement is by 64% for the city of Fitchburg, 32% for the city of Verona, and about 4% for the town of Verona. So if you look at our 2026 budget, was just about a $4.5 million budget for our service. Verona's portion of that was about $732,000. The way that we have the ability to bill for our services actually very much helps support what we do.
Outside of our operating budget, we have a handful of designated funds. We have a post-retirement healthcare system for our employees. We do receive some state funding. We call that SFAP funding, if you've ever heard us talk about that, as well as grants from local businesses. As far as our capital improvement projects go, essentially we've set up into a nice fleet replacement program. I kind of shared with you the 6 ambulances we have. About every 2 years, we purchase a new ambulance. We keep it for the following 12 years. And as part of that capital improvement project, it replaces about the 5 or 6 big purchase items inside of that ambulance. Like everything else, we're not seeing the 3% increases. We're seeing the 5, 10, and 20% increases in everything we're purchasing. So that is our financial overview. Where we're going in the future? I'd like to reiterate, right, we launched that peak time truck in 2026 to meet that rising call of the rising number of calls. That truck is actually only staffed by part-time paramedics or our LTE paramedics. One of our goals in 2027, right, to be able to see if it's financially viable to add additional days. Really, those days, I share a monthly chief's report that I'm hoping gets passed down to you. They asked me why we picked Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I said it was completely arbitrary, right? It was actually the days that I had the most amount of people who could actually pick those days up. It is hit or miss. Today, we had all 3 of our trucks out, and we had two times the city of Madison was coming in and helping us out. Tomorrow, we'll have that peak time truck in service, and they may not turn a wheel for 12 hours, right? It's a complete guess. But as we continue to move, right, how can we slowly implement that as opposed to hiring 7 new people, right? We aren't a normal city department that just gets to hire 1 and 2 people. It takes 7 people, right, for me to actually add an additional ambulance. So we're trying to do this in a kind of a flex staffing, cost-effective way of increasing our coverage. Right. Eventually, that ambulance will need to go into 24/7. We'll see where that goes. As far as we look for numbers, if we continue on this about 4% to 5% increase in every year by 2029, a short 3 years away, right, we'll actually be hitting 6,000 calls in our district. That will necessitate, right, more people, and always that goal of how do we do that and keep it cost effective, as well as I know one of the topics that continues to come up here of tracking population, right? Where are our communities growing, and how do we manage them, and are our vehicles in the right places? And then the last thing out there, that collaborative innovation, what are we doing, right? And I've already shared with you, we have this borderless ALS system. We continue to talk to our neighbors about our borderless BLS system, right? What actually just gets you, if you have your stub toe, we're just gonna send you the closest ambulance, right? There's some logistics challenges that come with that we're continuing to try to work through. But how do we make this for the best patient outcomes and make sure that we're serving our citizens? One of the things we're excited about as well is the potential for whole blood. If you've ever actually followed anything out there, this has been out there for about a year or 2 in the world of EMS. Lots and lots of logistical challenges at actually providing blood out in a pre-hospital environment. We don't have the ability, we don't have the volume, we don't have the staffing, we don't have the setup to do it on our own. But we are looking county-wide as how do we do this to actually get blood out into the field. As well as other opportunities, as I've brought up in the past, right? With that growing number of calls, those 6,000 calls a year, right? Throwing ambulances at just hiring more people and throwing ambulances at them is not always the solution. So how do we work with our partners to have the community paramedics, right? Is it possible to send somebody out to a fall, as you just saw 20% of our calls, right? Can we send somebody in a car out with somebody who said they fell or are not injured that just needs some assistance? Right. So what are some additional options out there? Of course, all of that costs money, right? So how do we figure out, is it more cost effective to hire that 1 person versus 7? So lots of things in the future that we continue to look at to how we make a sustainable system, right? And then I always just like to throw the last picture up here because those are all the statistics of stuff. But this is us, right? This is our staff. This is our crew. This is the things we get out there and do. As you can see, none of those are 911 calls, right? Those are all things we go out and do with our community and all the great people we have working for us. So I know you have a busy agenda, but I can entertain any questions if you have any.
Any questions for Chief Anderson?
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. That concludes mayor's business. We will move on to item 7, which is announcements from the council. Any announcements from the council? Alder Tucker Lund.
I have anniversary cards that I'll be bringing around, so make sure to sign them before you go.
Great. Any other announcements from the council? Okay. We move on to item 8, which is the administrator's report. Mr. Aulick.
No report tonight, Mr. Mayor.
All right. We move on to item 9, which is the engineer's report. Ms. Fisher.
Just one update for the SSM Health project that's being constructed on the southwest side of the city. The US Highway 18151 eastbound off-ramp to State Highway 69 and Paoli Street will be closed starting today through May 18th. Valley Road from State Highway 69 through the western limits of the SSM project will be closed May 11th, today, to June 8th. However, Valley Road will be temporarily opened on May 15th and 16th to allow access to a farm auction. So with that, I can take any questions.
Any questions? Alder Humke.
Yeah, I know this isn't in yellow this time, but the Cohiba Pond plan with the neighbors, like we've been talking about this for a year, and so I'm just wondering if you have any insight. It says spring, summer. We're in spring, wondering if there's like a better timeline than that.
I can get an update for you. I know that there's been some ongoing conversations, but I don't know exact timelines.
Okay, and
right now.
would that be like a postcard or a letter that would get sent to neighbors, or how would it get communicated to those folks that live there?
Yeah, I think if anything moves forward, there'd be communication to those neighbors, and I'd have to talk with Public Works on how that is best communicated.
If you could circle back, that would be great.
Yep.
Thanks.
Other questions? Seeing no further questions, we move on to item 10, which is committee reports. First up, we have 10A Finance Committee. Alder Humke.
Okay. I make a motion for payment of the bills in the amount of $647,733.68.
Motion by Alder Humke. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Lytle. Alder Humke.
Yeah, there are three main payments. The first is to AECom for engineering services in the amount of $130,513. Second is the Verona Area Chamber of Commerce for the first quarter room tax for $86,353. And the third is to Water Well Solutions for rehab of well number 3 for $81,019.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on the motion to pay the bills? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of paying the bills in the amount specified signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Alder Humke.
Yeah. I move to approve the financing plan to fix the elevator at the Verona Recreation Department and Community Center in an amount not to exceed $110,000 with, hold on, $53,000 of that going to the facility replacement fund.
Motion by Alder Humke. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Lytle. Alder Humke.
Yes. The Verona Recreation Department and Community Center elevator needs a critical repair to function. Repairs include upgrading the submersible hydraulic power unit and replacing the hydraulic cylinder and plunger. It also potentially is going to be looking at the actual casing and the well. Of the two quotes received, with the lowest quote from MEI at a minimum cost of $69,743. Given the unknown condition of the cylinder well, staff are recommending an additional, I'm changing what's in the packet, $40,000? 50,000, sorry.
30.
Oh, I thought it was $40,000. Okay, $30,000 for contingency purposes associated with the repair for a total authorized amount of $110,000. Is that math right?
Okay.
Yes,
I didn't
it
do
is.
the math, but we'll,
Okay.
we'll assume it's correct.
Yes. So there's obviously, I just want to like add a little bit. So there's the unknown piece of this, which is like what's going to happen with the well or with the well of the elevator bank. But we felt like at a committee level, the goal is to replace this elevator. We would like to have this building functioning, and we need to do what we need to do to make sure that that's happening so that it's a safe transport for people and that we can have programming that we can plan for in the basement of this building. I'll take any questions if there's any.
Thank you. Questions, comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the community center elevator repair and then with a not to exceed amount signify by saying aye.
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 Alder Weiss. Okay. Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Anything further from finance?
No, nothing further, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent. We'll move on to 10B, Personnel Committee. Alder Humke.
Yeah. I move to approve Administrative Policy Number 69, the Communications Policy.
Motion by Alder Humke. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Tucker Long. Alder Humke.
The city continues to integrate the communications manager position into department operations and workflows. The communications policy establishes internal guidelines for how information is shared across departments and with the public, supporting a more proactive and coordinated approach to city communications. The Personnel Committee requested changes to the draft policy, which are reflected in the red line document in the packet. Staff recommended approval of the policy. I will also add that we did have a lengthy discussion at Personnel Committee. I would like to highlight that I think that Mara Trustee is doing a phenomenal job in her role as a communications manager, and we're trying to make her role more streamlined so that she understands how she is able to be given like sort of some authority to reach out to directors of other departments to make sure that we're getting all the communication that we can in the most streamlined way and concise way to the public.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of Administrative Policy Number 69 regarding the Communications Policy signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Alder Humke.
Yeah, I move to approve plan review contract with E-Plan Exam.
Motion by Alder Humke. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Hoax. Alder Humke.
The longtime contractor responsible for conducting plan reviews for buildings and HVAC plans is retiring at the end of May. Given the scarcity of the qualifications for this type of position, along with the urgent need to provide these types of services, the most efficient solution was to opt for contracted professional services. Several communities use E-Plan Exam for plan review services, and staff negotiated an 85%, 15% split for plan review fees. Staff recommended approval. I will also add that we talked extensively about this, and my understanding is that there's someone who works for E-Plan who had previously been involved in the city of Verona, so that's really great for us and doing these types of reviews. I'll also note that typically municipalities have to actually pay for this service, and we're going to be receiving funds from this so that our fees are high enough that we can do that, which is great. And that, we talked a lot with Mr. Parkos about this and with Mr. Sievertson about, could we actually hire someone? Could we look out in the field and really sort of put that out there? However, there just really, after having this discussion, there just really isn't. This is sort of a unicorn type of situation. And though we would love to have someone on staff, it just really is not practical at this point in time. So we've been, the sort of the takeaway is we've been super fortunate, to have someone that has been able to do this. So.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on this motion? Alder Lytle.
I'm curious, just logistically, when these reviews are required, do we still issue a single invoice from the city of Verona for the plan reviews, or will developers or people that require this type of plan review be getting two invoices, one from the city and one from E-Plan?
Mr. Alec?
Mr. Parkos is in attendance, and he may know a little bit more about the
Mr.
logistics
Parkos?
of that than I do.
All the plan reviews are going to be submitted? Is that how they're going to be invoiced?
Just confirming, I know we have standard plan review fees that we assess because a portion of this will be going to E-Plan rather than directly to the city. Logistically, does it work that we're transferring those funds to E-Plan, or will those fees be assessed separately by E-Plan for their portion of the reviews?
All payment will go to E-Plan, and then they'll submit to the city of Verona the portion, the city's 15% of what's taken in.
So E-Plan's doing a particular discipline, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on what that was. Will there be other invoices issued by the city for the other disciplines that we're maintaining internally?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Other questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion. All those in favor of approving the plan review contract with E-Plan Exam signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Anything further from finance?
From personnel, no,
Or from
nothing.
personnel, shoot. All right, with that, we'll move on to 10C Plan Commission. Alder Swanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve resolution number 26-014 for a conditional use permit for permanent outdoor display located at 600 Hometown Circle.
Motion by Alder Swanson. Is there a second? Seconded by Alder Tucker-Lung. Alder Swanson.
Thank you. The Plan Commission held the required public hearing on May 4th, 2026. There were no comments from the public or the Plan Commission. The Plan Commission voted 5-0 to recommend that the Common Council approve a conditional use permit for a permanent outdoor display located at 600 Hometown Circle.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of resolution number 26-014 regarding a conditional use permit for permanent outdoor stores located at 600 Hometown Circle signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Alder Swanson.
Yes, thank you. I move to approve resolution number 26-015 for a certified survey map to create 1 lot and 3 outlots located at 3040 Shady Oak Lane in Ardent Glen subdivision.
Motion by Alder Swanson. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Harrison. Alder Swanson.
The Plan Commission voted 5-0 to recommend that the Common Council approve the certified survey map to create 1 lot and 3 outlots abutting Shady Oak Lane.
Okay. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of resolution number 26-015 regarding a certified survey map to create 1 lot and 3 outlots located at 3040 Shady Oak Lane and Ardent Glen subdivision signify by saying aye.
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 Alder Weiss?
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Alder Swanson.
Thank you. There's not a motion on this next part. It's an initial review and some commentary on an item that we had. The Plan Commission reviewed an initial plan for a 2-story, 14,700 square foot indoor entertainment facility located at 221 Horizon Drive. This type of land use does require a conditional use permit, which would be reviewed by the Plan Commission and subsequently the Common Council. Comments from the Plan Commission include support by the majority of the Commission for the building design, the business concept, and flexibility in the number of required parking stalls. There were concerns about how much parking would have to be reduced, as there is a large range of customers possible from 180 up to as much as 300 people. Some discussion about availability of on-street parking on Horizon Drive. The one Plan Commissioner noted that there's a section prohibiting parking in the area, both in paint and actual posted signage. Staff reviewed the information and determined that the no parking in that section is to allow a truck to back into the loading dock for PC name tag. Another Plan Commissioner was supportive of a shared parking agreement. It was also noted that parking requirements for fitness and entertainment land uses are being reconsidered, as this will this will require a conditional use permit, so it'll come back up. And it prompted more of a discussion about our broader parking requirements under city ordinance. But again, just flagging this and recommending that we review the submitted materials and provide feedback to the applicant regarding the proposal.
Thank you. Feedback from the council. Alder Tucker-Lung.
Yeah, I think this is a cool location to put this. I am also a little concerned about the parking. I would encourage a shared parking agreement, just because I have tried to attend birthday parties with my kids at other event spaces like this, and parking has been really difficult. It would also be really nice to make sure that there is a lot of good walking access to this. And it seems like right now to get from the street area to the building, there's not a clear pedestrian crossway across all the parking. So I would recommend adding that for kids crossing as well. Okay.
Other feedback from the council? Alder Humke.
I will second what Alder Tucker Long said. I mean, I think this is just like a really cool idea. It's nice to have it in proximity. You don't actually, if you live in the city, you could bike, walk, which is always great, especially for, families who want to take their kids there or just, older adults too, right? I feel like it's nice to have something that encompasses all ages. So I'm excited for this. And yeah, I'm curious about the parking and would love to see them have agreements. But no, this is great.
Other feedback from the council? Alder Lytle.
So I'm sure this was in the staff report or maybe in the administrator's memo. How big of a gap are we talking about in terms of parking, depending on the category that we classify this building and the building's use? Are we talking 20 spaces? Are we talking 200 spaces? It wasn't immediately clear to me just how much we were looking for the shared access to fill in that delta.
Mr. Sievertson? And maybe give us a brief overview of just kind of the outline of the parking discussion.
Yeah, thank you. So part of this is we won't be able to really dial in the parking requirement until we've got like a more definitive site plan. But, based upon our current requirements, there's probably like a 20 to 30 parking space deficiency. Also, the site plan that was provided was conceptual in nature. So I think these numbers are can vary. But I think there was, at a minimum, there's kind of realization that either the city needed to rethink how the parking regulations are written, and or the applicant is going to need to consider working with some of the neighboring properties to come up with a shared parking agreement. But I don't have an exact number of what that deficiency is going to be.
So at this stage, we're not necessarily saying there's a 20% deficiency. That will be part of the more detailed plan review, and we'll also have more data in terms of how willing some of the neighboring property owners are for any kind of shared parking.
Correct. And then I guess going along with that, the city is looking at taking a look at our parking requirements for some of these uses, entertainment-related uses. So as an example, there's a category in our zoning ordinance for indoor entertainment / fitness uses. And those uses are based upon how many people you could, like building code-wise, fit in that building. It doesn't mean that that space is going to be used at full occupancy the entire time. The building code classifies it as an assembly use, so that would take into account like a restaurant or a concert venue. So it's a pretty broad category, and what we're seeking to do with the ordinance is provide maybe a more broken down way to look at these parking requirements. As an example, a indoor pickleball facility is something that we've been getting requests for. We currently have an indoor volleyball facility that's been operating. They needed to get a parking relief in the form of a shared parking agreement. So we know that some of our requirements are probably a little restrictive. As an example, like I was saying, for the indoor pickleball court, based upon our current code, for a 5-court pickleball facility, they would need 60 parking spaces. When in reality, you would have probably at most 20 people playing at a time. So even taking into account, you might have a few people showing up to
to watch, or maybe you have some overlap in between, people coming and going. That's still probably too much parking, and it's something we probably don't want to encourage too much parking in areas, only to see parking spaces just kind of sit unused.
Other feedback from the council? Alder Swanson.
I mean, I guess I'm just going to say that my commentary from last week stands if you'd like to check out the extremely interesting discussion about parking at large and this project in particular.
I guess I'll call on myself. I'm super excited about this potential opportunity to have this business here. This area's been empty for a long time, and I think it would be great to see something fill in there. I know we got to sort out the parking spot, and I do like it when businesses can share, but I do want to remind people there is street parking, and this isn't like a single family home neighborhood or a place where there's going to be a lot of other people parking on the street. So I do think we can get away with street parking in a way we couldn't in other places in the city, provided, we allow like the trailers and stuff that need to get to the other industrial users to have space. So I'm excited, and I hope we don't, kind of close it off just because we're worried about parking. But yeah. Other thoughts from the council? Okay, Mr. Sievertson, is there anything else that we should address?
Nothing else.
Okay. Anything further from Planning Commission?
Nothing further from Planning Commission, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, with that, we will move on to 10D, which is Public Safety and Welfare Committee. Alder Hoxt.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve an application for a Class B fermented malt beverage and reserve Class B intoxicating liquor license from Ian's Pizza Verona LLC, doing business as Ian's Pizza Verona, located at 303 West Verona Avenue. Jeffrey Ike, agent.
Motion by Alder Hoxt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Swanson. Alder Hoxt.
Thank you. Ian's Pizza is applying for a liquor license for their new location in Verona. Staff recommend approval of the license contingent upon final building and fire inspections. I haven't noted that the applicant was here earlier. He did answer a few questions, just in terms of making sure the liquor was locked up, and that was all. That was fine. And also, this is only for the first floor, so they're not using the rooftop just yet. So they hope to do that next year. So that would be a different application at that time. But otherwise, yeah, we're excited to have this open up.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the application for a Class B fermented malt beverage and reserve Class B intoxicating liquor license for Ian's Pizza LLC, doing business as Ian's Pizza Verona, located at 303 West Verona Avenue, Jeffrey Ike, agent, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no? And that motion passes. Anything further from Public Safety?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Excellent. With that, we move on to 10E, which is Public Works, Sewer, and Water Committee. Alder Tucker Long.
I move to approve the release of permanent limited easement along New Country View Road right-of-way.
Motion by Alder Tucker Long. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Swanson. Alder Tucker Long.
Thank you. With the completion of construction for this portion of relocated Country View Road, along with the dedication of the right-of-way to the City of Verona, the permanent limited easement areas for grading and drainage are no longer necessary. The easement release cleans up the land records to accurately reflect the constructed improvements.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of releasing the permanent limited easement along the New Country View Road right-of-way, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no? And that motion passes. Anything further from Public Works?
Nothing further from Public Works.
With that, we'll move on to item 11, which is new business. 11A is discussion and possible action on the sculpture by Jean Delcourt. Mr. Olick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city has received a proposal to install a donated wood sculpture by Madison-based artist Jean Delcourt, a globally recognized sculptor of, I'm going to murder these terms and I apologize in advance, Abenaki descent, whose work draws on inspiration from the natural world. The piece is approximately 7 feet tall and 3 feet in diameter, carved from a reclaimed ash tree, and would be donated by Jerry Gurman, an integrated arts educator and Tai Chi instructor. The sculpture depicts animals representing Tai Chi movements and reflects themes connecting indigenous, Chinese, and local natural heritage. If approved, park staff would install a small concrete pad and footings and the annual maintenance requirement is minimal, a coating of boiled linseed oil coordinated through Outhouse 360. Staff and partners intend to pursue grant funding for additional educational and interpretive elements, including signage about the artist, donor, and Tai Chi movements represented in the sculpture, as well as natural landscaping around the installation. Proposed signage would be provided in English, Ojibwe Moan, and Mandarin to reflect the cultural themes connected to the project.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments, or motions on this item? Alder Humke.
Well, first of all, I just think this is amazing that we got selected. I didn't realize that that there was like no necessary connection to Verona. I agree. This is like with Miscellaneous, that this is a wonderful location to have something like this donated. And so I'd like to make a motion to approve the installation of the art project. Is that approve the acceptance of the
Approve the
donation?
acceptance. Do we need to add anything for parks staff maintenance, or would that be kind of implicit in the motion?
I think that would be implicit in the motion. Yeah, once we receive something, we're bound to take care of it. So
Okay.
we'll be okay.
Motion by Alder Humke. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Harrison. Anything to add, Alder Humke?
Well, no, I guess I love the idea that we're going to have signage in multiple languages, native to our community, but also to the project, but that there's also children who receive education in Mandarin here as well. So I just think it's really cool.
Questions or comments on the motion? Alder Tucker Long.
I am also super excited about this, and I love how this can be sort of the gateway to also our Century School Park as well. And so it's kind of a great location, also right off of Verona Avenue. So it's a very high traffic area. So I think it's going to be a great location to put it. And I did meet with park staff, Art House 360 staff, and with the donor out at the location, and everybody is on board with the location.
Calling on myself, yeah, I'm super honored that our community gets to have this sculpture. I think it's a privilege, and I'm also super excited to see how the space gets activated. Just to, I think sometimes people want to consign art to a museum tucked away, but I think this is going to be really public and visible. I think that's really wonderful. Alder Tucker Long.
Sorry, one more thing I forgot to mention is that the circle on the map in the packet, it will actually be about 30 feet back from the sidewalk that goes into the park because of food trucks and things using that sidewalk to drive into the park. And we want to make sure it's well out of the way of any trucks coming through. So just for safety's sake, we're moving it back. But it will still be in the general area of that circle on the map.
Other questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of accepting the sculpture by Jean Delacourt signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. And that motion passes. With that, we will move on to 11B, which is a discussion and possible action on the development agreement between the City of Verona and Aldi Inc., Wisconsin. Mr. Alec.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The proposed development agreement between the City of Verona and Aldi Inc., Wisconsin covers construction of public improvements associated with the Aldi Development Project within the Liberty Business Park area. Under the agreement, Aldi is responsible for the design, installation, and full cost of all required on-site and off-site public infrastructure improvements serving the property, including sanitary sewer, water main extension, stormwater facilities, streets, sidewalks, utilities, street lighting, landscaping, and traffic improvements. All improvements must be generally completed within 18 months of execution of the agreement and secured by an irrevocable letter of credit acceptable to the city. The agreement includes significant transportation and utility improvements associated with County Highway M and the adjacent cul-de-sac area. Per the terms of the agreement, Aldi will construct roadway and intersection improvements identified in the traffic impact analysis, including dedicated turn lanes, bike lanes, pavement reconstruction, stormwater infrastructure, or storm sewer infrastructure, utility extension, sidewalks, and terrace landscaping. Aldi is also responsible for erosion control, stormwater management facilities, ongoing maintenance obligations, all prior to city acceptance, and all applicable permitting and inspections are required. The city retains the authority to to complete the unfinished improvements and recover costs through the letter of credit or special assessments if necessary. Financially, Aldi is responsible for reimbursing the city for engineering, legal, inspection, and admin costs associated with the project, in addition to the utility and park-related fees. The agreement also clarifies that Aldi is and the subject property are released from any obligations under prior Liberty Business Park development agreements, and the city waives any future enforcement rights related to those earlier agreements against the Aldi property. Staff would like to point out two items that are particular to this agreement. The agreement would not require installation of gas or phone utilities. Also, city staff are agreeable to making an exception to a request that lien waivers of $15,000 or less are not required to be provided to the city. However, if a lien is filed against the city related to public improvements, the cost associated with the lien would be paid by the developer. If the lien is not resolved, the cost would be assessed back to the property as a special charge.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments, or motions? Mr. Kleinmeyer.
I guess I just want to clarify two things, because I agree with what Jamie said. One is the reason on the natural gas is typically natural gas has to be installed as part of a public improvement. Aldi is not going to utilize natural gas to heat the building. It's going to use a different source. And so what they have been told by the utility is even if they installed the natural gas facilities, if the natural gas facilities are not used, then eventually they would be removed, because my understanding is if you don't use certain facilities over a period of time, essentially they're damaged. Now, one of the things that's not in the agreement right now. That would require a change. So if you're going to approve this agreement, you're going to need to approve it, do it subject to final review and approval by Jamie and me. You don't have to do that. I mean, if your thought process is we want natural gas installed, I mean, you can require it. I think we're comfortable with it, but the thing that we're going to need to do and that we're going to add is Aldi's going to have to record a notice on the property so any subsequent purchaser knows that natural gas has not been installed, because there is definitely the possibility that any subsequent user of the property will have to install natural gas. Now, that's not a downside to the city from the standpoint of we wouldn't pay those costs, but there is the potential that the road would have to be ripped up at least a little bit. I'm not exactly sure what would happen there, which is why theoretically, you certainly could say, whatever Aldi's asking for, we don't care. We want the natural gas installed right now. So I think there is a downside to the city to not having it put in. I think the other thing is on the lien waivers, I didn't like that at all. I mean, the idea that, these are our public improvements. And this idea that Aldi doesn't get lien waivers for work that's less than $15,000, that's up to you as to whether or not you want to accept that. Now, the workaround on it is we don't think that there's a likelihood that there's going to be any public improvements that are less than $15,000. So in all likelihood, it's not going to come up. There could be a sub, though, where a subcontractor. And, if they have to pay it, and if they don't pay it, then we're going to put language in here that says it becomes a special charge on the property, and they're going to end up paying it no matter what. But this is a big give. And part of the reason I'm saying that in open session right now is I get an email from their attorney saying they want more changes to the agreement. And we're going to say no, quite frankly. And because we think both of these, at least my opinion, is both of these, if you agree to this on the natural gas and on the lien waivers, are big gives because they're different from what we do with every other developer. And so there's value to the city to having a consistent public improvements agreement. One, we're treating everybody fairly, and two, we're the ones who have to administer this. And we can't have 15 different public improvement agreement for 15 different projects, or that would make life very difficult for city staff. Now, and the last thing I want to say is, as a result of this, at a staff level, we are looking at maybe some changes to the subdivision ordinance, because it may be the case that other entities and other developers are going to be coming to the city and wanting to heat their facilities with something other than natural gas. And I know that you've had that discussion. I think that you had that discussion as part of the more recent North Point project where that was a desire. So that is, we may need to, react to that, and that's one of the ways the staff is doing that right now in the potential change to this language. But I also just want to reiterate, these are two pretty big changes, and we haven't done these in the past. You absolutely have the authority to do it tonight if you want to, though.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments, or motions? Alder Helmke, then myself.
The lien thing really struck me as not great for us. I'm curious if you feel like it's a deal breaker, like if.
They've made it seem like both of these issues on the lien waivers and the natural gas are deal breakers. The other changes that they want to make, while we don't agree with them, and I don't think that we're going to make them, they have not, at least in the conversations that I've been in, it doesn't seem like those are deal breakers if we don't make those. But these are two big issues for them. I think the natural gas one makes more sense from the standpoint of, yeah, I mean, if you are going to have a different heat source, it's rational for them to say that they don't want to incur that cost. Again, we also have rational arguments on our behalf, which is, it's not just to get the property ready for your development, it's ready for the future. And if in fact, 20 years from now, we have a subsequent purchaser that needs to install natural gas, I have to believe that for natural gas to go underground, there's going to have to be some changes made to the road, which negatively impacts the city. The lien waiver is just, that's their philosophy as a national corporation.
Okay, I don't have an issue with the natural gas thing because I would prefer that, if I'm assuming it's a more sustainable form of energy, which I would like to promote. I'm curious if it puts us at risk for other future developments, because I know we've talked in the past about having this, what you're talking about, which is like a streamlined sort of, this is what we do for developers. I mean, is that put us at risk for other people coming to ask for this, or?
Well, that's why I think what we're focusing on at a staff level, I think, is potentially bringing some, so the foundation of this is there's language in our subdivision code that says for someone to do a development, certain public improvements have to be made. Natural gas is one of those. Also in there is telephone. And so and one of the things that we're doing right now is we're looking at, okay, clearly lots of places right now are not using landlines. And so I think we started thinking about, well, maybe we need to modify the language regarding the telephones because it just doesn't fit what's happening now. That seems to potentially be the case now with natural gas too, where other developers might start heating their facilities with sources other than natural gas. And so because I think there's a pretty good chance we're going to be supporting a code language change, I'm not really too concerned about any precedential effect of what we're doing with the natural gas, because I think we might actually be incorporating that in the code. Obviously, it's going to be your call as to whether or not you change the code language, but just reading the tea leaves at other conversations that the council has had as it relates to natural gas, I think that you're going to be open to what we're going to do from a code standpoint.
Yeah, what about the lien?
That one is more just, we have another mechanism to collect that money if we need through the special charge, and we're going to put that language in the agreement. I think that one is more of a, we've been told at a staff level, and Jamie can correct me if I'm wrong, that that's a big issue for them. And so the question becomes, how much do you want this development? Because that is not something that I would want the city to have to do on a regular basis. In other words, this would be a one-off, in my opinion.
Okay.
There's no reason why we should have to chase down. There's no reason why we should ever have a lien on the public improvements that are dedicated to us, and there's no reason why city staff should have to do additional work if for some reason we've not received a lien waiver. In fact, a contractor has placed a lien on public improvements. That one's a bigger issue.
Okay, thank you. My 2 cents is I think having Aldi here would be great. I think that it's another source of options for people in terms of different pricing points and ability for people to get food. Food is really expensive these days. And I guess I appreciate your insight and information. I'm going to vote for this.
Calling on myself, for the first thing, natural gas and phone, I don't think we should be forcing these on either people. I can't imagine forcing a landline on somebody right now if they've got another system, and I feel the same way about natural gas. As long as it's recorded on the deed, I mean, the only thing you could argue is that we're potentially, making their property less valuable in the future, but that's really not our place to say. And you could argue with some of the potential dangers of natural gas that they're making it safer. I don't know what they're going to use instead, but generally speaking, geothermal or heat pumps don't explode like natural gas does. As far as the lien stuff, to me, I guess as long as the city, and by which I mean the public, can get the money, I think I'm okay with it. I don't think I'd want to make this a precedent. I did have a question about that, though. It says the costs associated with the lien would be paid by the developer. If we have to run them down, can we charge them for our staff time?
We can add that in there to make clear that the city's not going to have to pay any costs associated with it.
Okay, because that's the thing. I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think all these is going to like cheap out on like a $5,000 bill and run away. But if they did, I don't want it. Your time, Jamie's time, anyone else's time the city should be recomped, because that means if they're doing that, they're not doing something else, not serving the public. But yeah, on the whole, I think I'm okay with this. Alder Lytle.
Thank you. I had two questions, and first off, agreement with you that it seems that not just the cost of the lien, but also our administrative costs and time associated with administering that, responding to those, seems like a reasonable cost to be compensated for as part of that. So hopefully that would be our approach in terms of going along with the lien waiver. And then just confirming, while it's okay in my mind to not require natural gas that's not going to be used, we're still expecting the utility easements and the layout of that to be able to accommodate a future natural gas line if required?
Yes, my understanding is the certified survey map has already been approved for this development, and that would include all the normal public utility easements associated with it. So those easements would still be in place. So let's say 10 years from now or 20 years from now, there's a different user that needs natural gas. That would be, the easements would be there for that installations to occur.
Thank you.
Alder Hernandez.
Yes, thank you. I have two questions. I didn't see any language specifying what types of bike lanes would be implemented. I'm assuming it will be up to the applicant. So I'm not sure if they will be buffered or protected. Not sure if we know that, but I didn't see that in the agreement.
I believe that was that handled separately on a separate item, Mr. Severson, or?
So for, there will be a bike lane on M there, but the long-term design of that was eventually there'll be a multi-use path on the south side of M. So just for safety purposes. So there wouldn't be a bike lane on the street. It would actually be a multi-use path off the street south of the roadway.
Okay. Thank you.
Alder Tucker Long.
So with a lot of developments, when we're dealing with utility installation or things like that, we have like a line of credit memo that we can pull on if utilities are not paid for or things like that. Is there an opportunity to do something like this in exchange for the liens to make sure we can get paid if this happens?
Oh, Mr. Claremont?
Well, so we typically will not accept, we typically will not accept public improvements until we get the lien waivers. Here, I think the difficulty is, and the reason, we could seek to essentially extend a letter of credit. It's just, typically in the current agreement, we will have a letter of credit for the guarantee period that will go longer than 1 year. Normally, you want kind of an end date with a letter of credit, and because we will not know, usually I think it's a 6-year statutory limitations for if a contractor needs to bring a claim. You would think that if somebody wants to get paid, they would bring their claim right away. But we just don't know if that's going to happen. Now, if that happens within the guarantee period, I think we would be able to draw on the letter of credit if for some reason Aldi refuses to pay it. And again, I'm bringing these things up. I agree with the mayor. I don't think that we're going to have this situation, and I don't think that if it comes up, I don't think that Aldi's going to refuse to pay it. I think they would. But I think it would be difficult to kind of keep an open-ended letter of credit for 6 years at an amount that we're not really sure what to identify with the agreement, where that's why I think the special charge would give us essentially the same ability to collect that money, essentially, ultimately just to make sure that the city doesn't get harmed from the standpoint of having to pay anything.
Okay, thank you.
Questions, comments, or motions on this item? Alder Tucker Long.
I move to approve, let's see. Sorry, that was the wrong one. I move to approve the development agreement between the City of Verona and Aldi Inc.
Would that be subject to final approval by the city attorney and city administrator?
Yes.
Does that cover kind of the outline of the discussion then?
Yes, it does. In other words, we're going to make the changes that we've discussed tonight, including, making it clear that if we have to work on the lien issue, that they'd have to cover our costs. So we'll add language to that effect, the special charge issue, the notice regarding on the property that natural gas isn't installed, and then to the extent that there's any cleanup changes that we make. But we would not make any additional substantive changes to the document.
Motion by Alder Tucker Long. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Swanson, I think. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the development agreement between the City of Verona and Aldi Inc., Wisconsin, subject to final approval by the city attorney and the city administrator, signify by saying aye.
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 Alder Weiss?
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. We move on to 11C, which is a discussion and possible action regarding ordinance number 26-1091, amending Title II, Chapter 3, Section 12 of the Code of Ordinances, Municipal Judge Qualifications. Mr. Aulick.
Thank you, Mayor. The proposed ordinance amendment requires that Verona's municipal judge be a resident of the city of Verona, licensed to practice law in the state of Wisconsin, licensed for 5 years immediately prior to the election or appointment as municipal judge, and a member of the State Bar of Wisconsin in good standing. So it adds in qualifications into our ordinance.
Alder Swanson.
Thank you. I think this is great stuff to add. I think our municipal judge should be someone who lives here. They should be someone that knows the law. They should be someone that has known the law for a while, and they should be someone that other lawyers don't think is terrible. And you have to do really, I don't know if you guys know this, but you have to do really egregious stuff to get out of good standing with the state bar. So I think this is just sensible.
Okay,
So
question?
I'll move to approve ordinance number 26-1091, amending Title II, Chapter 3, Section 12 of the Code of Ordinances, Municipal Judge Qualifications.
Motion by Alder Swanson. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Humke. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Alder Tucker Long.
What happens if we don't have a qualified candidate in the City of Verona?
Mr. Aulick.
I think we'll get to that in the next point, Alder Beth, but yeah, I will cover that with this next section. Thanks.
Other questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of ordinance number 26-1091, amending Title II, Chapter 3, Section 12 of the Code of Ordinances, Municipal Judge Qualifications, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. We'll move on to 11D, which is a discussion and possible action regarding resolution number R-26-016, ordering a special election for municipal judge. Mr. Aulick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Longtime municipal judge Bill Weigel resigned from his position at the end of April. The chief judge of the Judicial Administrative District has designated Judge Bill Weigel to temporarily fill the vacancy. The Verona Code of Ordinances states that permanent vacancies in the office of municipal judge must be filled by a special election. The resolution orders a special election to be held on November 3rd, 2026 for municipal judge with a term ending May 1, 2028. and I can kind of walk you the nuances of candidacy. And just real quick, if you'd like, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
So if you were to pass this, there would be a window between tonight and June 1st, which is the deadline for filing for fall election. So it's a pretty tight window. And now the person who's filing needs to have the qualifications that we just passed above. If you know someone, feel free to let them know there's might be, if this passes, there would be an election. But really, after, if there would be no candidates, we would be back here having a conversation about what you'd like to do next with the judge position. There's, I believe, an appointment process in our code for municipal judge. When we went through it, Attorney Kleinmeyer, there's other possibilities to provide for a municipal judge or a multi-jurisdictional judge. This could go a lot of different ways, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the city code is based off the state statutes. So, I mean, there's not a lot of flexibility that's provided. I think the flexibility here is the appointment that's already been made, I believe, for the temporary position. Now, that, you know, there's no temporary is not defined. In other words, temporary could be 6 months, it may be longer. And that's obviously up to then Mr. Weigel too, as to how long he wants to continue to do this. So I think, I agree with Jamie, I think the approach that you're taking tonight, assuming you approve these different items, is the appropriate approach. If it turns out that you don't have any candidates for the position, then I think that's where we're gonna have to double back at a staff level and see, when you take into consideration the statutory requirements, what are the options for the city, and certainly that multi-jurisdictional option, I think would be something that we'd be talking about if we don't have any candidates right now.
Alder Hauke.
What is the time commit, like, what is the commitment for this judge?
I'm sorry, what now?
Like, what is, I mean, if you were to look at the job description, I know that they have court at night, right, but like, how often is,
Yeah,
do you know?
I think that there's a certain amount of flexibility that's provided to the municipal judge to set his or her own schedule. In other words, it's an elected position. I haven't really looked through statutorily I mean, ideally, you want to have court at a time where it's going to be reasonably convenient for the defendants to be able to appear. But once you kind of get past that hurdle, I think there's a lot of flexibility that's provided to the municipal judge.
Okay, and when you talked about multi-jurisdictional, does that mean we would share a judge with another municipality?
Potentially,
Okay.
yes.
Great, thank you.
Other questions, comments, or motions? Alder Tucker-Long.
I move to approve resolution number R-26-016, ordering a special election for municipal judge.
Motion by Alder Tucker-Long. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Harrison. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of resolution number R-26-016, ordering a special election for municipal judge, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. And that motion passes. With that, we'll move on to 11E, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the employment agreement with the City of Verona and Judge Bill Weigel. Mr. Orlick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, longtime municipal judge Bill Weigel has graciously agreed to perform duties as municipal judge during the special election cycle with some overlap with a potential successor. And he's looking to have that overlap through the end of November per the terms of the agreement. The employment agreement retains many of the same employment terms as when Judge Weigel was an elected official. The council may convene into closed session to discuss terms and conditions of the agreement. What I can tell you is he asked for just the same wages that he was getting as municipal judge. Given the fact he's going to be working remotely, there's a meal allowance in there and certain things, but basically he's continuing on as our municipal judge as best as he can. He's moving to a Milwaukee suburb, or has already moved there, and so he's just supporting us from a distance here to bridge us through this time.
Thank you. Questions, comments, or motions? Of course, if anyone feels like they want to negotiate, we could, go into closed session. Alder Swanson, then Alder Hauke.
I'll move to approve employment agreement, City of Verona and Judge Bill Weigel.
I'll second that.
Motion by Alder Swanson, seconded by Alder Humke. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the employment agreement with the City of Verona and Judge Bill Weigel signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. And the employment agreement is approved. I just want to say thank you to Judge Weigel for covering for this, because it would kind of be a mess if we didn't have a municipal judge for a while. With that, we'll move on to 11F, which is the discussion and possible action on the potential property purchase at 308 through 310 Plimpton Street. Mr. Alec.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. According to our records, the property at 308 to 310 Plimpton Street was first inspected from the exterior in September 2014, at which time several issues were noted, including a broken window, a hole in the kitchen ceiling, and peeling exterior paint. A subsequent sidewalk inspection in March 2026 found that these conditions had not been corrected and that additional deterioration had occurred, including holes in the roof, deteriorated fascia, and detached gutters. I would also add to this comment, we did have law enforcement officers go past the property at multiple times in multiple days, and no one was living at the residence. Let's see here. On March 17th, 2026, I sent a letter to the owner requesting consent to inspect the interior of the property, or alternatively, to consider selling the property to the city. The assistant city administrator met with the owner on April 16th, 2026, at which time the owner indicated a willingness to consider a sale. There may be several potential uses for the site that serve the public interest, and staff are recommending the council authorize making a reasonable offer for the property. And I'll just add one comment to this. If there are discussion on uses of the property, they should occur in open session, according to the city attorney.
Thank you for stressing that. I did have one question. So then if the council approved a reasonable offer, final approval would come back to the council. Is that correct? No. Mr. Kleinmeyer?
Yes, so as Jamie indicated, if you want to talk about potential uses of the property, you'd want to do it in open session. But I do think that we would like to convene in closed session to get a feel for what, if the council wants to make an offer, if so, what flexibility the council or the staff would have on that. But that is correct. And essentially what would happen is staff would go to the property owner, try to work on something. If we essentially are able to get an agreement, a verbal agreement, then we would have to work on whatever the offer to purchase is, bring it back to the council for actual approval by the council that you would do in open session at that point. So it's kind of a two-step process, I would say.
Okay. I think the way I would like to do it is to talk in open session about potential uses first and then reconvene in closed session, because I think it's almost impossible to talk about an offer without talking about potential uses, because that's going to dictate price and what people might be willing to spend or not spend. So I think it's probably better just to get it out in the public, and that's how I'd rather do things. So if anyone would like to comment on potential uses they see for the property, or if they see no use for the property, I guess this would be the time to do it. Alder Humke.
I mean, I'm curious what, I was actually pleasantly surprised in some ways to see this, but I'm curious, what are the uses that you are envisioning beyond the affordable housing fund, which immediately came to my mind. I mean, the house itself looks like it's not usable and maybe not fix-upable, but we could tear it down and build something there. But is there something else that I'm missing that we could use it for?
Mr. Alec?
Yeah, one idea that staff have come up with is we've noticed that there's traffic, or travel, I should say, between West Verona over there, and Plimpton behind it. And people are kind of cutting through by the water tower there. And so one of the theories of the assistant city administrator, who's a longtime parks employee, was you don't necessarily control the flow of traffic very easily when something like that happens. It's obvious that people want to be on a quieter street. And so it could be the case that we dedicate some of the lot towards a path that cuts between Plimpton and West Verona.
did you have any follow-up? Alder Hoxt.
Nobody's living there currently, right?
That is correct. Again, multiple observations by Verona law enforcement.
And there's,
borne that out.
so it's duplex, right? That's why there's
Correct.
two addresses. Okay.
It is a duplex.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments on potential uses? Alder Lytle.
So we presented a letter to the property owner discussing options, just so we understand the alternative, which would be issuing some kind of assessment or fine for a building that's fallen into disrepair, and our ability to actually collect that and perform those activities ourselves. Like, what?
I think probably in this instance, so the reason for doing an inspection is we can obviously see the state of the structure from the outside, but we can't see it from the inside. And I'm not saying that you would necessarily take this action, but one of the reasons why you want to inspect the interior of the property is to figure out, can it be salvaged? Because there's a raise and repair order process that you would go through. Like, I don't think that we would want to just fine them as a nuisance. I think that we would want to kind of cut to the chase. And now, if let's just, and I know that we haven't decided this, but so I'm just going to kind of use one of the paths, but let's assume that the property owner said, I have no interest in selling. Well then, and I also have no interest in allowing you on my property to do the inspection. We would have the ability to go to court to get a special inspection warrant that says, hey, we believe that we have public safety concerns here regarding the state of the structure, and so we've approached the property owner, sought to get consent to do the inspection. That was denied, so now we're going to the court to get a special inspection warrant. In all likelihood, I think that we would probably get that warrant, and then we would do the inspection, and then we would make a determination as to whether or not the structure should be raised or should it be repaired. And there's an analysis in the threshold in the statutes that if the cost of the repair is more than 50% of the assessed value, then it should be raised. If it's less than, then it's really up to the property owner as to whether or not they're going to do the repair or the raising. And so I think that was kind of the letter was that if we were going to go down that path, that was the first step in that, is trying to figure out a way to get onto the property so we could make that determination. But I think that would be the alternative, is if we're not able to acquire it, then we're going to have to continue with the inspection process to see how does this property need to be improved.
Other questions or comments from the council? Alder Tucker Long, and then Alder Swanson, and then myself.
I mean, if the duplex is salvageable or repairable, we do still have money in the Affordable Housing Fund. And so this would be providing housing, so we could take a look at using it for affordable housing as well.
Alder Swanson, then myself.
I guess I'll be the third person to ring the Affordable Housing Fund bell. I mean, it presents an interesting opportunity. If we can also, check some other boxes, like in formalizing a desire path in that area, as well as generally mitigating whatever sort of public local nuisance in that area. I mean, that's my district, so I'd like to take some action on that. So I think pursuing this course of action appeals to me.
Calling on myself. Yeah, I think kind of in line with what Alder Swanson and some of the alders said, I would like to look at it for potential affordable housing option. Obviously, it's very contingent on what it looks like inside, and if it's going to be a money pit, then maybe we don't want to do that. And then if we added bonus, we get to put a little path in there, and that people are using anyway. That's probably win-win. I'm definitely curious if people have other ideas for how it could be used. Alder Lytle.
Our city engineer is here, and I note that it is adjacent to a water tower and the pump house associated with that water tower. If we were trying to, obviously we're not moving water tower, but if in our parks plan, I know that land around the water tower does get used a fair bit for recreation by some of the folks that live nearby. Are there any needs in that portion of the city for infrastructure, anything associated with the existing water tower, elevated storage, that kind of thing, that would be beneficial in a future time.
Ms. Fisher?
Yeah, I was just looking kind of at that site right now. So we do have a water connection already. So, you know, I think I was just looking at the logistics of getting a path through there. We own the kitty corner property, you know, with the tower. So that would be the only piece is like you got to get over to that somehow. But I mean, that's workable. You just have to, you know, figure out something on the corner there. But from a utility side, there's not, I can look more closely at it, but there's not been anything in that area that's really come up.
Other thoughts on potential uses for or against for open session? Okay, if people would like to talk about negotiating offer price, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session. Alder Swanson.
I move that we go into closed session. The Common Council may convene in closed session as authorized by Wisconsin Statute 19.85 sub 1 sub E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The Common Council may reconvene in open session and take action on the closed session item.
Motion by Alder Swanson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Tucker Long. This is, of course, a roll call vote, which Mr. Alec will read.
Helmke,
Aye.
Weiss,
Aye.
Lytle,
Aye.
Tucker Long,
Aye.
Hernandez,
Aye.
Swanson,
Aye.
Hoaxed,
Aye.
Harrison.
Aye.
8-0, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we have the votes to go into closed session. I'm going to say we're going to take a 5-minute break. If anyone needs to use the bathroom or get a drink of water, and we will convene our closed session at 9:01.
I was
Mr.
just,
Clement.
do you want to address, I don't think that there's anything for open session on the last item, because I think it all is strictly terms and conditions. So I don't know if you want to.
I was thinking that, but I would rather reconvene here just in case anyone has anything to say in open session. And this item might have a follow-up open session discussion, so I thought it'd be easier. I know it's slower and I'm sorry, but I think it's better that way. Okay, it is 9:24. And we are back in open session. Staff is going to continue discussions with the property owner. So unless anyone has anything else to add, we will move on to item 11G, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the offer to purchase 2159 Range Trail, Verona. It's my understanding from hearing from staff that there's nothing to discuss on this in open session at the moment. Okay, with that, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session. Alder Swanson.
I move that we move into closed session. The common council may convene in closed sessions as authorized by Wisconsin statute 19.85, sub 1, sub E, for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The common council may reconvene in open session and take action on the closed session item.
Motion by Alder Swanson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Harrison. This is a roll call vote. If Mr. Alec would read the roll.
Helmke.
Aye.
Weiss.
Aye.
Lytle.
Aye.
Tucker Long. Hernandez.
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
Hoaxed.
Aye.
Harrison.
Aye.
8-0, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we will convene in closed session again. That's quorum. All right. It is 9:38 and we are back in open session. We will have more information on this one in the future. With that, we will proceed to item 12, which is adjournment.
So moved.
Motion by Alder Hoax. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Humke. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. And we are adjourned at 9:39 p.m. Thank you, everyone.